So first off, welcome to the open house for the Former Greenbelt Lands project. And we appreciate the time that everyone's giving to us tonight on this very warm evening in this somewhat warm room. So I want to start the meeting with a land acknowledgement. So the city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and the Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase of 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the city of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our role as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. So a bit about who I am. My name is Carla Coley, and I am your facilitator for this evening. I've been working on engagement-type projects and engagement in the engagement field for about 20 years, so I bring a lot of experience to facilitation. I also work in a team of planners in the firm that I work for, so I have some familiarity with the content, and of course we've all been paying attention to the news, and it's really hard to miss. There's been lots of Greenbelt news, so I do have some knowledge of the topic at hand. But that's not why I'm here today. Today, as your facilitator, it's my responsibility to help us work through the agenda and have a productive and respectful discussion. As it was explained in the meeting notice and in the panels on the way in, the city opposes the removal of these lands from the Greenbelt. So, we all know through the media that's been going on that the provincial process is being reviewed, and it will come to its conclusion at a time and place outside of this meeting. Tonight, however, we're operating on the premise that the removal will not be reversed and the province will grant development approvals. So the city is providing input to the province on how these lands should be developed and what community benefits would be most valuable. And council and staff have convened this open house because they want to hear from you. They want to hear what you would like to see in any new neighborhoods that are developed. So, from all of the signs I saw on the way in, I know there's one certainly strong perspective about development in the Greenbelt, but I expect in this room there's varying perspectives on this topic, and that some may agree and some may not. But tonight we're asking everybody to do something hard. So we're asking you to quiet your thoughts or put aside your discomfort with the decision that's been made, and to focus on helping the city understand what you would like to see if this actually happens to come about. In the presentation, so in the presentation tonight, you're going to hear about the 11 directions that the city's put forward to guide development in Hamilton, and they're looking for your input on how these new neighborhoods should look and function, and where there's opportunities for development of these new neighborhoods to contribute to the broader community through things like affordable housing, enhancements to the natural systems, and other opportunities. I expect there's a lot of comments and questions in this room about the provincial decision to remove these lands from the Greenbelt. But please be patient with city staff presenting, as they may not have the answers to these questions. And you're of course welcome to ask them and welcome to comment on that decision, but also please understand if we direct the conversation to focus on the topics that maybe we can answer and that we have further information on. So remember, we're not all the decision makers in this room, but together we can provide the valuable input to the city to help them negotiate with the province on what future development in these areas will look and feel like. So as we begin, I want to share a set of considerations for all of us to keep in mind so we can work together effectively in this meeting. So we want, from everyone in this room, we want everybody to listen to each other as well as city staff. Please don't shout things out when someone is speaking, because it makes it really hard for people around you to listen, and they may want to hear. Be heard. The city does want to hear from you. There's time on the agenda to hear from you. There's a survey out there. There's boards outside for people to provide information. And we also have a Mentimeter so that you can text in any questions and comments as well. And be respectful. Everyone in this room is entitled to their opinions. And we're not going to agree. But let's all remember that disagreement does not equal disrespect. Let's keep our language clean and let's not attack each other. And keep an open mind. All views do have value in this process. So it's my job to help keep the meeting moving, and if I see things or see behaviors that are not respectful, and it is my job to help us stick to the agenda and help us make sure we get through this effectively and efficiently. So it's a three-part agenda. We have a bit of a presentation. Obviously, there was panels out there to start. We have a bit of a presentation. There's an opportunity for questions and comments, and then we will be going back to the panels so that after the presentation, people can provide more information on the information out there. So you've met me as the facilitator. I'm joined by Nicole, who's going to assist me and work the Mentimeter texting thing I mentioned. And the key city staff here tonight are Charlie Toman, who's the team lead at the city in the policy planning group, and he'll be presenting tonight, and Steve Robichaud, the director of planning. We also have in the audience MPP Sandy Shaw, who's from the riding. From the Hamilton West and Castor Dundas riding, and Councillor Craig Castor, who's the local councillor from Ward 12. There also may be other local councillors in the audience. They were invited, so they may also be here, but those are the ones that are local to this project. So I'm going to turn it over to Charlie and let him carry on with the presentation.
Great, thanks, and it's great to see so many people coming out. So I'll be providing a brief presentation outlining the provincial decisions and authority to approve development of the lands removed from the Greenbelt Plan, as well as how and why the city is seeking public input on these lands. So for a bit of background, in December 2022, and notwithstanding the city's opposition, the province removed 795 hectares of land within the Greenbelt Plan area in the city of Hamilton. To put that area into perspective, it's about twice the size of Binbrook. The lands removed from the Greenbelt Plan area are separate from the 2,200 hectares of land that were added to the Hamilton urban boundary by the province in November of 2022, despite council's endorsement of the no urban boundary expansion growth strategy. And I'll point out how these two areas relate to one another in the next slide. The province has indicated that the removal of these lands are intended for residential uses to support the goal of building 1.5 million homes over the next 10 years. The province has also stated that they expect significant progress on the development of approvals to be achieved by the end of this year, and for development to be, quote, substantially underway no later than the end of 2025. So here's a map of the Hamilton Urban official plan, and I'll use my laser pointer here. So just to put the areas into perspective, the hashed area here are the lands that were added by the province through the municipal comprehensive preview process. And then I'll point out next the three separate areas removed from the Greenbelt Plan in Hamilton. The first area is referred to as the 50 road lands, which are 4 hectares in size and located at the northwest corner of Barton Street and 50 Road. They are next to an elementary school and a new residential subdivision. The next area is referred to as the Book Road lands. These are 727 hectares in size, and the boundaries of the lands are south of Gardner Road, west of Fiddler's Green Road, east of Shaver Road, and they extend south past Book Road to the south. This is the second largest area removed from the Greenbelt Plan by the province, and it makes up approximately 24% of all lands removed by the province. The third area, which are referred to as the White Church lands, are 64 hectares in size and located south of White Church Road, east of Highway 6. These lands are located just south of the recently expanded urban boundary. However, the lands to the north are still agricultural, and there is no development anticipated in the immediate future. So under the Planning Act, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing has the authority to issue a Minister's Zoning Order, or MZO. Similar to any other zoning bylaw, an MZO sets out what are the permitted uses and development regulations for a specified area of land. And once an MZO is in place, it would immediately trump any zoning that the city has in place for those lands. And City Council is not required to approve an MZO, and there's no appeal process. In recent years, the Government of Ontario has used its powers to issue MZOs more frequently. However, these are typically for individual sites or projects in areas where there's already existing local official plans that support that use. To a staff's knowledge, it has never been used to approve the development of an entire neighborhood, the size of the Book Road or White Church lands. In June of this year, the province further amended the Planning Act through Bill 97, and one of these changes is to allow the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing to issue MZOs that don't conform to local official plans or provincial plans or policies, and this includes the Greenbelt. Bill 97 also enables the province to require landowners and municipalities to enter into development agreements where the province has directed the provincial land and development facilitator to make recommendations. We do anticipate that the province will be using its authority to issue MZOs for the former Greenbelt lands. And in this past June, the provincial land and development facilitator contacted the city and advised that the city will have an opportunity to provide input on how the former Greenbelt lands are developed and to negotiate certain community benefits above and beyond the standard Planning Act requirements. So that is the provincial authority and the decisions that they made leading up to this. And this slide just has a summary of what council motions have been made sort of as that has been happening. So council has passed several motions with respect to these lands in the past year. In February, in response to the province's decision to remove the lands from the Greenbelt, council passed the motion that the minister's decision is, quote, unnecessary and is not supported by the city of Hamilton. Later that month, in response to the provincial call for municipalities to meet the provincial target of 1.5 million new homes over the next 10 years, council passed a motion that the city, quote, accepts the challenge of building 47,000 new housing units by 2031 and continuing council's direction for growth through intensification within the former urban boundary, excluding Greenbelt lands. And then in June of this year, in a response to the city being contacted by the provincial land and development facilitator, council passed several motions, including that staff be, quote, directed to provide input under protest with respect to any private development proposals associated with community benefits. With this direction, it's important to keep in mind that the province has authority to issue planning approvals irrespective of the city's objectives, the city's objections, and that this is an unprecedented situation which would result in the potential approvals of entire new neighborhoods, which would eventually become part of Hamilton for both current and future Hamilton residents. The council direction is to clearly set out what the city's expectations and objectives are for these lands to the provincial land and development facilitator. And then just this last month, in response to the Auditor General's report on the Greenbelt removals, council passed a motion that, quote, the city of Hamilton requests the province of Ontario abandon its plans to develop the Greenbelt and that all lands within the city of Hamilton removed from the Greenbelt be reinstated. So last month, council also provided direction that the 10 directions to guide growth by the city for new neighborhoods shown here, and we have a panel out in the hall, be the basis for the city's input to the province, and that the city considers, quote, agricultural use to be a prime consideration along with the protection of wetlands and natural heritage features. In the absence of the province undertaking its own engagement, City Council also directed a special meeting of planning committee to be held to hear from residents to help inform the city's priorities and expectations when engaging with the provincial land and development facilitator. That meeting is scheduled for next Thursday, September 14th. However, after this meeting, we may have to look at the venue size again, so I don't want to commit at this time that is going to be here. And the open house tonight, because this is such a big issue, is really to give the public another chance to provide their input, as well as having this back and forth through the Q&A, so the public can ask questions. So as I'm sure everyone in this room knows, since City Council's direction to provide input under protest, there have been several reports and announcements at the provincial level that the city have been following closely. This includes the Auditor General's report and the Integrity Commissioner's report, which criticized both the process and rationale in removing the Greenbelt lands, and the Auditor General's recommendation that the lands be returned to the Greenbelt. And just in this week, the resignation of the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and then the announcement from the Premier yesterday that the province will, quote, re-evaluate all of the Greenbelt lands, but also making it clear that the lands removed from the Greenbelt last year are not going to be put back into the Greenbelt at this time, and that the provincial land and development facilitators' role with municipalities will still continue. So with the province not changing its position as it stands today and council's direction in place, we are still proceeding with this plan consultation and the input to the provincial land and development facilitator. Now, we know there's a significant number of Hamilton residents that don't want to see any developments of these lands. And we've also heard that many residents don't want to partake in this survey, and they would much rather comment that they just want to say no to any development of the former Greenbelt lands. The city certainly acknowledges, and City Council agrees with this position. So all comments received through this process, through the emails, the comment sheets, those will also be received and sent along the province along with the results of the survey and the other engagement that we've been doing. So at this meeting, we're asking your feedback on the city's development objective, what the city's development objective should be for these lands, as well as the community benefits the city should work to secure. And by development objectives, what we're referring to is how any new development should look and function. And this includes the types of land uses, the densities, as long as the type, layout, location, design of all of the infrastructure that has to go in to potentially building a new neighborhood. And for community benefits, the province did not provide clear guidance on what this would entail, just that it would be a developer contribution over and above what the city could normally require under the Planning Act. We do have some examples of community benefits up on the screen, and there are examples on the panel, but there is really no defined limit as far as staff know as to what those are. So outside we have panels, and we're asking residents to place dots next to those development objectives and community benefits for each of the 3 individual Greenbelt tree removal areas that are most important to you. We also have post-it notes that if there's any specific item that you want to see included in those lands or thought about, you can write it on the post-it note, and we have panels with a blank the space where you can post those. There's also a general comment box for any comments, including opposition to any development of those lands, which can be dropped in the comment box, taken home, and sent directly to me this week. There's also an online survey available, which you can fill out if you don't want to add dots to the panels. And I have the link here if anyone wants to do it on their phone, because it is relatively easy to do and quick. So how will your input be used? All of the feedback received at this open house, the special meeting of planning committee, and from the online survey will be submitted to City Council, submitted to the provincial land and development facilitator, and be posted on the city's website. As mentioned, there will be a special meeting of planning committee scheduled for 6:30 to receive public delegations. If you wish to speak or submit comments at that meeting, we encourage you to contact the city clerk to form a public delegation ahead of time. Council directed that it be a standard public meeting, So there would also be a chance for anyone who didn't register to come up and speak directly to planning committee, but knowing the number of people that we expect to come out, we would strongly encourage you to register so you can see yourself where you are on the agenda of the planning committee meeting. So that wraps up my presentation, but me and Chief Planner Steve Robichaud will be available for questions. And we do have staff here who will be manning the mics, so maybe I'll just ask staff in attendance to come forward.
Thanks, Charlie. So there, I see people standing. There definitely are some empty seats up here, so please do come down and grab a seat so that you can sit more comfortably. I'm actually going to ask staff to come to these microphones and maybe actually pick them up and move them to the middle of there so that it's not so far away for the people at the top. Thanks. So we're now going to have an opportunity for questions and comments. We have these two mics. We also have this online opportunity. So if you happen to have your cell phone, if you visit menti.com and enter this code, so 12210042, you'll be able to provide comments that way. And then as Charlie mentioned, there is an opportunity when we're finished this part of the meeting to provide comments later on out there, and there is also the special meeting of council. A few things to remember that, as I mentioned before, the city doesn't necessarily have all the answers to questions about the provincial process. So please understand that and be respectful of that. We also, too, are asking, there's a lot of you here, so we're asking that you keep your comments and questions short so that we have so we can get through as many of them as we can. And we're actually asking, some of you may have comments and questions related to specific properties and specific details, and we're asking that you ask those one-on-one of staff outside, just because, as I said, sometimes those get into a lot of detail, and we are trying to make sure that we give everybody an opportunity here. And then just remember to listen, to be heard, to be respectful, and to keep an open mind. So the mics are up there, and the Menti is open, and I will check in with Nicole every now and again to see if there's any comments and questions there. So those coming up to the mic, when you come up, if you could please provide your name so we know who we're talking to, and then your short one comment or question, please. Go ahead, yes.
My name's Denise Nuttall. I just read that the part of the Book Road was actually within the boundary of the airport that could not be built on because it's in a high sound zone, like it's too loud there. Does the MZO, would that go above and beyond that kind of policy and procedure that the ministry would have to normally?
So Charlie, are we in the airport zone, and can the MZO override that?
Yes. So, sorry, is this mic on? Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. So the Book Road lands, approximately 80% of the lands are within what we call noise exposure forecast contours, essentially noise contours, which predict the amount of noise from overhead planes out at the airport. And under the city's official plan, right now, approximately 80% of that land, if someone were to come into the city and to submit a development for a residential use, we would say flat out no. However, as I mentioned in the slide, with Bill 97, the province's authority to issue minister's zoning orders do not have to come apply with local official plans. So if the minister wanted to, they could essentially trump that. And then also the province itself has its own policies that restrict residential land uses within that area, not quite as large as the city's boundary, but they would essentially have to notwithstand their own policies to approve residential development for the majority of the Book Road lands.
Great, thank you, Charlie. Over on that side, could I have your name first?
Is the mic working?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Danielle Iannifono, and I was wondering just sort of why we're holding a process to continue with an action that's under criminal investigation, because it sounds like the province is just... It sounds like the province kind of has you guys in a hostage situation, and I don't think that's how democracies are supposed to go. So I was wondering, like, do we have to go through with this, even though it's there's a good chance it'll be found illegal in the next 6 to 8 months?
Okay, so I think there's two questions there. One, why did the city decide to hold this process? And two, do we need to go through this, or can we wait till the decisions are made at the provincial level?
Yeah, so the city council direction to, thank you for the question. I know a lot of us have been thinking it, but the city council gave us direction to provide input to the province through the provincial land and development facilitator last July, and there has been a lot of things happening at the provincial level with the Greenbelt plan. However, as I spoke to him in my slide, the council direction to provide input to the facilitator is still the direction that staff are working from, and also that the province hasn't said that they are going to reverse their earlier decision to remove the Greenbelt lands, and they're still going through with it. So I can't forecast if one of those two things will change in the future, but that's why we're still having this meeting today, and that's the basis that we're still moving forward with.
Great, thank you. So if we could go to this side, could I have your name, please?
Oh, hi. My name is Kathleen Kennedy.
Hi, Kathleen.
And I'm just wondering if the city has sought out any legal counsel in terms of, are there any legal avenues that the city can use to fight this?
Okay, great. Thank you, Kathleen. Steve or Charles?
Yeah. So I am not a lawyer, and I am not aware of any specific legal authority, but I can't speak on that. So I think that's a question that we can certainly take back and provide a free response through, because the city may have looked into it, but I'm not aware of that, so I don't want to answer one way or the other.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, can I just make a follow-up? How could I look into that further?
I think what Charlie was saying is that they'll look into that further and make sure that there is a response available. How will that be provided, Charlie?
Yes, great. Yeah, so we do have a frequently asked questions on the Greenbelt lands, and through this process in this open house, we are going to be recording all of the questions. So our intent is for all the questions that were raised here, we would provide a staff response on the city's web page, and also that information would be publicly available. It could be included in future council reports. But.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move over to the other side there. Can I have your name?
Lucia Yanatono.
Hi, Lucina.
Hello, how's it going? I suppose my question is for you guys. You talk about community benefits. The best way to have a dense, walkable city is to build within our city. And the best way to have green space is not to rip up green space. I don't see any benefits that we're going to reap by going along with this facilitation process. What options are available for us to say this is a sham? This land was selected at a fancy dinner with a brown envelope. There is no way that this is going to hold up. What can we do as citizens?
So I think Charlie's already explained that this meeting was council has requested the city to provide or to obtain public input on the commentary that they need to provide to the province. So
as has been acknowledged, a lot has changed since then. We've learned a lot about how this process was not a process at all. So why are we upholding our end of the process when there was no process on the provincial end?
So I'm not sure that there's anything else that we have to say on that. Steve? Yep.
I think what has to be understood is the minister has the discretion to issue an MZO, and the process the province has put in place that in exchange, where the municipalities have the opportunity to negotiate benefits from the developers and the landowners, and if an agreement is reached, the provincial facilitator will report that to the minister. The minister will require that the landowners enter into an agreement with the province, and then once that agreement is executed, the minister will issue the ministerial zoning order to allow the development to proceed. There's nothing in law that requires the minister to go through that process. So if the municipality said thank you but no thank you, the minister would still have the discretion to issue the MZO to allow the development to proceed in the absence of the municipality securing any community benefits from that development. Under the Planning Act, this government has amended. Under the Planning Act, this government has amended. Under the Planning Act to say that the minister does not have to follow any provincial planning documents when exercising their decisions. So I'm just trying to explain it's the process that is being laid out by the way the province has amended the Planning Act, and that is why council said we are negotiating, I believe, under protest or in opposition was the addendum that was added. However, if there was an opportunity to secure those benefits, which could be, as Charlie indicated, affordable housing, additional greenlands, parklands, financial matters, then to explore those opportunities and then to see if an arrangement can be met. If the negotiations aren't successful, then the city may say, we do not agree to this process and not participate anymore. It's really for the purposes of trying to identify what would be the city's priorities for each of these areas, and it doesn't have to be the same priority for each area, in the sense that the 50 road site, as Charlie indicated, is 4 hectares. So maybe in that site, the focus is on affordable housing and urban type amenities because it's surrounded by urban development on 3 out of 4 sides. As opposed to Whitechurch, which is sort of on the edge of the urban area, or Book Road, which again is on the edge of the urban area. And there may be different benefits because Book Road has a large NHS component. We know that based on our mapping and the Greenbelt mapping. And how can we actually maybe enhance that? I'm just throwing out ideas. And that is part of the thinking process, saying, yes, this is being done under protest. Yes, the province has all the cards. We're playing poker where we might have 2s and 3s and they have aces and kings. And that is sort of what we are trying to see if there's an opportunity there and what would that look like, provided that it seems to be a reasonable set of benefits as opposed to just accepting what gets presented to the municipality. This is the first time in my planning career we've ever had a situation where we've been negotiating with landowners outside of the urban area, a suite of benefits that go above and beyond the normal Planning Act provisions. So there is no rule book or process manual to follow, and it's we as staff and council, I would say, as well as obviously the public, are struggling with this process and trying to understand how it plays out and what will be the ultimate outcome as it relates to. But as the Premier indicated yesterday, they're not rolling back this decision. It's really looking at other opportunities to remove other lands from the Greenbelt. Sorry, ma'am, I don't want to speak any further because I know there's other people and we could probably talk till so thank you.
Thanks, Steve. So Steve has given us, and Charlie, they've given us a really good overview of why we're here. So with that, there may be more comments and more questions about why we're here, but I think we've probably exhausted the information that we have on that point. So let's move over here, and can we get your name, please?
My name is Michelle Silverton, and I am so impressed and touched by the amount of people here showing up. This is what democracy looks like. I also want to really thank this city council and the previous one. There was incredible engagement in this province, in this city, like nowhere else in the province, around urban boundary expansion and now the Greenbelt Lands. And I want to also put a big thank you to not only our present council for their position, but Jason Thorne and Steve Robichaud. Can we give them a big hand, please? Fred Eisenberger said that it was the largest city council meeting ever in his memory when we had 2 full days at urban boundary expansion. Let's do that again on September 14th. Sign up to delegate, give a written comment. We had 200 letters last time. This is what people power looks like. I want to make a comment, though, about the MZO issue. The guy who said he wouldn't touch the Greenbelt, Ford, he also said that he would not overrule a municipal decision with an MZO. Let's let him launder his dirty deal. That is not up to us to do. Let's stand back and let him do it. Does that make sense? Tell me.
Thank you for your comments. And can we hear from over here? What's your name, sir?
Hello? Yeah,
Hi.
my name is Don Courtnage. I live in
Hi, Don.
Ancaster. And I'm sorry, are you the provincial facilitator? Is that your role? I'm
No,
not
no,
sure.
I am just a facilitator. I have nothing to do with the project or the province or anything like that. I'm just here to help our meeting run, that's all.
Good for you, I guess. I guess to avoid talking about what all of the things that the city is doing now in dealing with a short-sighted government, there's a couple of things I think might be missing, and I'd like to know if I'm right about this. Is the city of Hamilton joining forces with any other jurisdiction within the Greenbelt to fight this battle against the province?
Thank you for that question. So is there any municipal collaboration on this? Steve or Charlie?
The council has shared their position through the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and other municipalities. There are some municipalities who actually asked the province to remove lands for the Greenbelt, and I believe it was reported in today's Globe that 12% of the land area, the number of 12 was used. Some municipalities have already reached an agreement to remove lands from the Greenbelt. So out of all the affected areas, there's some municipalities that are for the removal, there's other municipalities that are opposed to it. We've been communicating our concerns and our issues through, the council has been sharing that information, and I believe the mayor has been talking to other mayors about the concern, but there has not been in the sense that you're asking, because there's not one uniform position amongst all of the affected municipalities to either oppose or support the Greenbelt removals.
Yeah, that's not quite what I'm asking. I'm asking if the city of Hamilton is actively participating with other stakeholders, presumably not with ones who are against it, but with the other stakeholders who are against the land grab in this process. Are you or not? That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is the city of Hamilton initiating any movements whatsoever towards long-term protection of the Greenbelt? Because there will be other short-sighted governments come along, and in 10 years this may happen all over again. And is the city of Hamilton exploring other alternatives to protect the Greenbelt in its entire forever?
Okay, so is there some long-term planning? Any long-term planning that the city is doing or can be doing regarding the Greenbelt?
So on the Greenbelt, so the Greenbelt is a per provincial plan. It's not a plan that the city may be in support of it. City council may be supportive of it, but it's a per provincial plan, and they're ultimately the authority to make any changes to it. Just the announcement.
I'm sorry. That's not what I'm asking you. I'm sure that the city of Hamilton is doing everything that they can to fight this. Are you joining forces? I mean, the government has got a divide and conquer thing going on here, and I'm wondering if you you gave a land acknowledgement. Is the city of Hamilton talking to the First Nations communities about this problem and moving forward in that respect? I don't want to hear any more. You've already talked about everything the city of Hamilton is doing. I want to know if you're talking to other people and joining forces to do that.
So
as
I
you
think
should be.
I think Steve already mentioned the conversations that are going on between the different different
That's not
municipalities.
planning. A conversation is not an action plan. It's talking. It's sending memos. What is required here to not let this happen is a joint force of all of the participants who are against it to speak with one voice, not sending memos from one mayor to the other. I'm sorry.
I hear your comment and I hear your
for your
perspective, and I think we've got all of the answers that we have for that particular one. We do have a whole bunch of things that have come online, so I'm just going to turn to Nicole and get a couple of those before we go back to the microphone. So one common question to feed off of the further gentleman there is, has there been any Indigenous consultation that the city has undertaken?
Yes, there has been in terms of both with the cities. Throughout our planning process, we've been having a dialogue with our Indigenous communities and partners, And we have spoken with members of the Indigenous community on this issue, and they have shared also their concerns with both City Council and staff relating to the Greenbelt removals.
Thank you, Steve. So there have been a number of questions on how this will affect affordable housing and how affordable housing is defined and how that fits into these Greenbelt lands.
What
Okay, let's let Steve answer, folks.
The province, as part of the package of community benefits, one element has to be an affordable housing component. The province, and that could be either actual units being constructed, it could be monies given to the municipality to help fund affordable housing projects, or it could be land that could be given to the municipality or transferred to affordable housing providers to develop affordable housing projects. But that would be part of those community benefits discussions with the proponents. And there's also that issue of how do you define the affordable housing versus attainable housing? Is it deep core need? Is it shallow core need? What would those price points be? And that would be part of the discussions as to how that affordable housing would be provided. What would it look like, and how do you ensure that it stays affordable, as well as whether it is rental or ownership or a combination of both. All of those questions and issues around affordable housing could be put on the table to be discussed before, as part of that community suite of community benefits.
Great, thank you. So we're going to go, we have about 10 minutes to the time that we had in the agenda to go back to the panels. So that covers pretty much the folks that are standing at the mic, and maybe we'll see if we can get one or two more from the Mentimeter as well. So if we're going to go back to this side.
Okay, it's Carolyn Stuffel. I'll make
Hi,
this
Carolyn.
quick so there'll be more room for other people.
Perfect,
I
thank
don't
you.
know why we're here. We just did the land acknowledgement. Indigenous people have not been contacted about this, and we need to be doing archaeological assessments on top of species at risk of this land. We've already had the City of Hamilton councillors all agree that they're not going to let this happen. So, also, the last thing I wanted to bring up was the 10 direction. Actually, they changed it to 11 directions to the guide development. I believe that was developed by the planning department in the City of Hamilton. If you go through all of them, pretty well all of them stop the development of the Greenbelt if you go by all 11 directions. So why are we here? Why are we doing this?
So thank you for that. I think we have had that conversation about why we're here, and it is, as they've mentioned, a council direction to get input on this issue. So we're going to move over here. Can I get your name?
Mila.
Hi, Mila.
Okay, my question is, would you say it's possible for the City of Hamilton to get community benefits like affordable housing while allowing nature and not concrete to develop in the Greenbelt? And might energy be better focused there?
So could we get affordable housing without the Greenbelt, without development in the Greenbelt?
Yeah. Thank you.
The audience has answered your question. Steve, would you like to, or Charlie, did you have anything to add?
I just said yes.
Oh, did you? Okay.
We are looking at those full suite of options for increasing the supply of affordable housing within the pre-OPA 16 urban boundary expansion area, as well as in those urban boundary expansion areas, in addition to these Greenbelt removal lanes.
Okay, so we're going to keep going, and we're going to pick up the pace just a little bit. So if you could keep your comments short and sweet, because people keep adding themselves to the list of people who wanted to have a conversation, and we do have to cut this off at some point. So go for it there.
Thank you. My name is Nancy McKeel. I wanted to follow up on the gentleman who talked about merging forces with other municipalities. Absolutely, we should be calling on the City of Hamilton to do that. We are in good company. Toronto, Mississauga, Georgina, Halton Region, Oakville, and Brampton have all opposed the removal of the lands, representing a majority of the area in Ontario. We should absolutely join forces with those municipalities.
Okay. Thank you for your comment, Nancy.
I also wanted to follow up about the question about if we have legal recourse. We do. There's a process called the judicial review. Just bear with me for a second. The Ford government is in violation of the Greenbelt Act. Specifically, they are required to conduct plan review and decisions in accordance with rules of natural justice and procedural fairness.
Okay.
The integrity report has confirmed that they have not done that. My question is, I would call on the City of Hamilton to ask their legal counsel to look into that, because there is absolutely a case that we can bring the province of Ontario government to the judicial review process and get the amendment to the Greenbelt plan reversed.
Okay, so Charlie has already said that he will look into that, and the city has already opposed this, so thank you very much for your comments. And over to you, sir.
They did not oppose it, though, through the judicial review process.
Okay, thank you. Over to you, sir.
Hello, my name is Tice Teismeyer. I just want to get a little more clarity on the community benefits. One of the categories is green development standards. How would that be, what would be the current status in Hamilton relative to what that might actually mean?
So what does green development standards look like in Hamilton? Is that right now?
Thank you for the question. So it would be any green development standards could be related to energy efficiency. It could be related to low impact development, local power generation. There's a whole suite of things that new development can do to reduce its carbon footprint. Right now, a city and the Ontario Building Code and various documents have minimum requirements that new development have to meet, and I think it can be broad what those benefits are, but they would have to be beyond what developments are required to do, and hold them to a much higher standard.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to keep moving on, and as I say, if you can keep your comments or questions to one comment or question and keep them brief, that would be appreciated. So go ahead on this side. Hi, Tom.
Hello, thanks everybody for coming out this evening. I'm Dr. Tom Nugent, a local veterinarian and a member of a farm family that's produced food in this area for over 180 years and stood on Hamilton Market selling that produce for over 100 years. Obviously, I support the green belt and all it protects. What I want to bring attention tonight is what people have not heard from either politicians or the media. I'm concerned about the Greenbelt process. When the Greenbelt was created, the McGuinty government put pressure on the provincial planners to create it as fast as they could, so they did it in less than a year and a half. They put 2 million acres in less than a year and a half, and in doing so, they made a lot of mistakes. In order to do it that fast, they had to just use satellite imaging without anybody on the ground checking boundaries. They never checked with any municipalities if that land had already water or sewers, if it was sustainable for farming or not. Now, I agree with the Greenbelt and all it protects, but it does not trump honesty and democracy. Bottom line is, when those that fell victim to these mistakes, myself for one, because they misidentified my property, what they were concerned about is on somebody else's property down the road. So when I went to my local MPP, Jennifer Mossop, so you probably all know from CHCH, she looked me straight in the eye and said, "Oh my God, Tom, that's a mistake, and I'll get that fixed for you." What happened though, when she went to her provincial government, to Dalton and Nikki's government, they said, "Oh geez, he'll have to come back in 10 years. We put in the 10-year moratorium." Now, does anybody in this room agree with obstruction of justice in Canada for 10 years? So, Tom? I had to wait 10 years. So I'm just finished what I'm going to say, because this audience and everybody else's audience has got the opposite view. So bottom line is, now what I'm saying is there's property in the Greenbelt that has water and sewers. There's some right down in 20 Road East. It's got water and sewers. The city has spent tens of, well, probably 500,000 on Lear studies to say it's not susceptible for farming. This land is sitting there because and not available for affordable housing because of dishonest politicians
So Tom,
that do not represent people.
can I just clarify that? I think what I'm hearing you say is that there's land in the Greenbelt that may be more suitable for development that should be considered. And if I just remind everybody that the province has committed, in the media anyways, to do a review of that process. So it
Yes,
sounds
and
like that
well,
review.
they
I know
actually-
you wanted
the
that
province-
earlier, but
The province sent down Victor Doyle, the architect of the Greenbelt,
understand,
who
yes.
stood there and said, "We made a mistake.
So
we
I
made,
understand,
we made a
Tom.
mistake, but we won't do anything about it because we don't
I
have
understand
to.
100%.
In Canada,
we only
you don't
have,
have to."
we only have a few more minutes left, so we're going to actually move on to
What
one of
I
the
want
other
to know
questions.
is,
So,
does the city,
Tom, we need to move on to one of the other questions, Dr. Nugent.
Does the city back
Dr.
the
Nugent?
correction of mistakes in the Greenbelt, or do they
We
not?
need to move on
Do
to some of the
city-
other questions.
Do the city?
There's lots of
I would
people.
like the city to back the correction of
Dr.
mistakes
Nugent?
in the Greenbelt.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. We're going to move over to this side here.
Hi, Ron Tamer.
Hi, Ron.
Just wanted to say I agree with everybody who hates the idea that we're following the orders, the MZO of a minister who had to resign in shame and corruption and dishonesty and incompetence.
Okay,
So
thank
I
you.
hate the fact that we have to do this. But if we have to do something, I'm proposing a kind of a stalling tactic because I hope Ford isn't going to be around more than a couple more years. If we re-elect him, then we deserve what we get. But if we're going to do something, can we do something temporary? We have HATS that wants to provide tiny homes for the homeless people. We have people living on the streets downtown and parks all over the city. Can we do something with one of the Greenbelt properties where we set up the tiny homes? We set up community gardens for the people that are staying there. They can grow some food. They can do something active. They can feel useful and have a place to live, a shelter. And once Ford's out of there, then we can reevaluate where we do this and return the Greenbelt lands to farmland.
Thank you. Some interesting thoughts for the city to think about. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Could I ask you if I could get a show of hands of people who actually own land in the Greenbelt? I am one of them.
There you go. There's your show of hands. There's actually quite a few here.
There's quite a few, but not as many as the Green Hornets.
Is there a specific question that you have?
I'm Mr. Roberts. I've lived 50 years at 68 Gardner Road West. We have been stewards of that land for 50 years. Most of the farmers around us call us newcomers because they've been here hundreds of years and they're not ready to farm that land anymore because it's not viable farmland to make a profit.
Okay, thank you. There definitely is impacts on landowners in this process, no doubt.
Mr. Trudeau will stop bringing in 500,000 immigrants. If we all stop having babies,
okay, so we're not going to.
we don't
we're not
need the
gonna
green
broaden.
land. We will keep it. We'll keep our land green.
Okay, everybody, hang on. Let's listen. But I ask you, sir, if you could ask, is there one specific comment or one specific question that you have, and then we need to move on.
Where are we going to put these people that have been brought in by politicians
Okay.
and house them if we don't develop the land that we are close to development?
Okay, so
we have water, we have
everybody,
sewage, we have gas lines,
let's
we
be
have an
respectful.
airport.
Okay, thank you, sir. So
What more do you want?
Thank you. Everybody, please be respectful. There are different points of view, but we do need to be respectful of people.
There's right and there's wrong.
If we can wait, everybody, can we let the rest of the people provide their comments, please? We only have about 5 or 10 more minutes of questions, and then we're going to go back to the panels. Over here, sir.
It's Steve Chalastra. I'm curious about the MZOs. We don't want this to happen. You don't want this to happen. We've heard that clearly. But you think that there may not be much of an opportunity to combat these MZOs. I'm just wondering about the extent of that. People are talking about affordable housing and using it for green, farming, whatever. Does the provincial government with these MZOs have the ability to dictate what type of construction goes on here? I mean, we know who these developers are. They'll be looking to do monster homes, with concrete driveways for 4 SUVs, that sort of thing.
So can the province dictate what
can they dictate what kind of use it's put to? And do you have any creative solutions up your sleeves that you're thinking about? Like, if you don't put a water main in there or a sewage, let them put in a septic system or drill a well for it and see what that does to their real estate prices.
So
Do you have any creative options up your sleeves?
Can the province dictate what happens, and is the city thinking about anything in particular via creative solutions?
To answer your first question is, yes, through an MZO, the province can specify whether they are the type of residential development, whether it's a single detached dwelling, semi-detached, street townhouse, block townhouse, apartment building, as well as the performance standards associated with it in terms of lot size, minimum, maximum gross floor areas within the dwelling, number of parking spaces, et cetera, et cetera. All of those details can be regulated within an MZO. It cannot, to my understanding, deal with the price point or through an MZO. It's like a zoning bylaw. That would be what would be negotiated with that agreement, which would be the contract between the province and the landowner in terms of the housing, when it would be built, and if there's an affordable housing component, what that would look like and how that affordable housing would get delivered and how long it would be affordable. So if they were doing rental housing, it wouldn't be just rented out for 1 year, tenant leaves, and then it becomes full market rate. Those sorts of considerations. In terms of your question in terms of how we're approaching it, that is sort of all these elements are up for discussion. And ultimately, like I said, if and it's not possible to reach an agreement that's acceptable to the city, then we will have to report back to council as to how to proceed in terms of the community benefits and or whether or not council wishes to proceed with this concept of community benefits and the development of these lands. But that will be once we start the discussions with the provincial facilitator and the actual landowners. As a principle, urban, although this is a very unique, this is rural, designated rural in our official plan, but it's going to be urban type development. Normally, urban development is supposed to be on full municipal sewers, water, wastewater and stormwater, and paying the appropriate levies and taxes and fees associated with that. Once you get into rural development, if it's not connected to the municipal services, then suddenly you're into lots up to 2 acres to 4 acres in size based on the carrying capacity of the site. You don't want the well being contaminated by the septic system, and we don't support the use of tertiary septic systems in order to do smaller lots within the city because of the ongoing operation and maintenance. So that would be that there's not an agreement and there's not the ability to extend and connect to the municipal infrastructure, then this development would have to be on private municipal services that would significantly impact the form of development and the unit yield associated with that development. With the caveat, we don't want groundwater contamination, and we don't want the situation where you have private sewage treatment plants that are owned and operated by, say, a condominium corporation, because if they're not maintaining it, MOE can order the municipality to assume that private sewer system, and then we get a huge unfunded liability, and we don't want to get into those sort of communal servicing regimes. And our council policy and our official plan policies and city's position is we do not support communal servicing system. We only support private septic systems where appropriate for rural development. Thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 people here, and we had 4, but it looks like now we have 5 people over there, and we have 10 minutes. So I'm asking everybody to help us get through all of you people, because in 10 minutes we're going to call this and go back to the panel. So if we can start over here. Go ahead.
Hi, so my name is Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
I live and work in downtown Hamilton. I don't really have a question. This all seems very straightforward to me. What I do want to say is that hearing about affordable housing from the same government that abolished rent control in 2018 and drove rent to unprecedented heights, and also simultaneously took campaign donations from countless developers and so forth, all of his close friends. You've heard it, it's true. That's who he's beholden to. And the reason that he's overriding all of us, including those of you on stage, is that he doesn't care. He doesn't care what we think. Okay,
thanks for your point of view, Patrick. Is there anything? Thanks for your point of view.
And I just want to say that we're not going to relent until the Greenbelt is not developed, and I call on all of you on stage because I feel like you are on our side. So thank you for coming out and hearing us tonight, and please fight for us. Thank you.
Thank you. on this side.
Hello, I'm Mr. MacDonald. I
Mr.
just want to ask if there's any efforts to change the zoning laws which have led to this car-centric suburban infrastructure that has probably contributed to the housing crisis we're experiencing.
Okay, thank you. Any changes to zoning?
Short answer is yes. If you look at the approach that the city has, as Charlie indicated with the housing pledge, the city committed first to reurbanization, residential intensification, and redevelopment over greenfield development. But we have updated our zoning bylaw regulations to encourage as of right, accessory apartments, the missing middle, moving in that direction. And the final element is we're currently council adopted a draft report updating our parking standards in the zoning bylaw to start looking at reduced standards and encouraging the use of public transit or active transportation measures. So all of those sort of suites, trying to discourage automobile use and encouraging, forms of development that are more transit oriented as well as active transportation from that lens. So that is where we're moving towards. And we're also currently consulting on the medium sort of mid-rise zoning as well. So we hope to bring that forward to council early or end of this year or early next year, so that we can pre-zone all these sites so that people can, the fastest way to get new housing built is to build in accordance with the city's zoning regulations, and we want to ensure that we have updated, current, contemporary zoning regulations to allow for more housing to be built within the existing urban area. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. So we're gonna keep...
Thank you, sir. Please look out for us.
Yourself, sir.
My name is David Hitchcock. I'm going to ask for a show of hands. There's about 600 people, I think, in this room. How many of you would like to see the city submit what community benefits we would like with the development of these Greenbelt lands? How many of you want the city to submit such a thing? Thank you. Not very many. That's, I think, the mood of, of the room.
Thank you. Over here. Okay, let's listen to the comments, okay?
Hi there. Yeah, my question's pretty simple. It's kind of in the same vein as the gentleman down here who asked it, but it's a little bit more concise. Say we go through this whole process. You do all this work. You put the time and effort to negotiate with the province. Can the province just literally tear that up and go, yeah, we're just going to do whatever you want, and you can go away now?
Okay, so if all this, at the end of all this, can the province make the final decision?
The process that's being put in place is that there be negotiations between the municipality and the landowner, and then the provincial facilitator, hopefully, that is, you reach an agreement.
But can they ignore all of your suggestions?
And then the facilitator will report that to the minister, and then the minister, the minister could either accept or reject what the facilitator's report would be. I would hope, though, that if there's an agreement between the landowner and the municipality, that they would honor that agreement going forward. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got a couple more. We've got one last one here, and then a few more on the other side.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for hosting this tonight. I want to make a few statements. One is that there are a lot of people here, some that I've chatted up outside, from various areas outside of this community. Paris, Brantford, Burlington, and a few others. So kudos to you for showing up for a very worthwhile event.
And your second comment?
My concern is we have a premier who doesn't want to listen to the voice of the people. We have a number of housing issues. But when I read something I read the paper daily and ad nauseum from front to back. The editorial page is very interesting, and if you look at the comments from people about the Greenbelt, one of them stood out to me, and that was from a gentleman who said, why not look at the previous minister's Cornwall area? Nothing up there, barren land, lots to develop up there. So why are we interested in Greenbelt land, which is for our next generation? By the way, none of those young children are here tonight. So we parents and grandparents are speaking for the next generation. Okay. We don't want the Greenbelt developed. We want it saved for them. It is them, it is for them, it is for no one else, it is not for a developer. And
thank you.
There's so much that could be said. I know you're going to cut me off.
I'm going to cut you off, sorry.
Yeah. But you know, you all need
people that have been
one,
waiting.
Sorry. you all need to contact your MPPs and your MPs. Get the emails out, bombard them with this issue, and we've got 2 ministers now that have resigned. We've got another one that needs to leave office because it's corrupt, it's not listening, and that cannot be for taxpayers to put up with something like this.
So their suggestion is to contact your provincial representative. Okay, was there any last comments on, oh, there, go for it.
I'm Deborah Boyd. I'm
Deborah?
a Dundas resident, member of Action 13. I think it's very hard to be invited here tonight to ask for input on a bad plan that we're still talking about the fact that we don't agree with the plan. So to ask us to have an input in a positive way on something that no one agrees with is a very big obstacle for many of us to get past.
Yes.
It makes me wonder why we're not invited here to look at the build-up plan. Yeah. That's where you'll get creative energy. There's like how many hundreds of people here, creative intelligence to burn in this audience. Ask us to do something that will make us feel empowered, like we're part of a solution that we can speak clearly to as individuals and as a community. I think that would position us better into a solution. I haven't seen the build-up plan, but I know that it's there and I've heard that it will work. I haven't seen it, and maybe that would help us feel more empowered. So that's just my comment. But I do appreciate, I think it's really important to get the answer about legal recourse to where we're at now answered. I'm disappointed that there isn't an answer to that when it was posed earlier, that we don't know the legal recourse to what's going on right now. We have to know that. So anyways, thanks for being here tonight.
So we have finished our time here. It really depends on yourselves. I see there's 2 people standing there. Do people want to hear from those 2 people, and then that's it? Okay. So we're going to have the 2 people to provide their one comment or question, and then we're going to call it. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Elaine.
Hi,
I'm
Elaine.
a resident of Ancaster, and my question is to do with the land that has already been removed from the Greenbelt, and I'm wondering if any of that land has already been sold.
So has any of the land removed already been sold? Do we know? Is that a question we have any knowledge on?
No, sorry, other than what was reported in the Auditor General's report, we don't normally as a planning department track who owns land. It doesn't influence our planning process or our planning opinion. When we're looking at any sort of new, whether we're doing a secondary plan for an existing neighborhood or a future suburban neighborhood growth area, we focus really more on the land use planning principles independent of land ownership. So that's not a matter that we track or investigate in terms of when property changes hands or who owns what piece of property from a planning perspective.
Great, thanks. I think Steve answered the question already from the information that he has. So we have 3 people
What
over
I would
here.
say is,
accidentally
based on the Auditor General's report, it identifies who owns what. So you can look in that report, and for each of the areas in Hamilton, it identifies if lands are owned by developers or in numbered companies, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the only information that we in the planning department have in terms of ownership and when those lands were sold or purchased by the current owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I missed these 2 people before. I apologize for that. So go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Chuck Blake, and just for a quick background, I was the director of McCarty Court Housing Authority for Housing Authority and Affordable Housing in Brampton, Ontario, in the early part of my career. And I just wanted to say that when I hear all of the discussions about this, that there's some reminders that I think need to be applied. Just telling Doug Ford that we're not interested is not going to do much to solve the problem. What I would like to say is that we have to have a strategy, and that strategy is to give them a list of why it's not a good thing, and just saying it's green is not the answer. He's all in on this climate change. Green is an absolute contributor to absorbing CO2, which they consider to be the problem. Also, if you put affordable housing in Ancaster, which is mostly working people, because that's who I work with, they would be driving into Hamilton, which is not going to help the traffic situation that is already a problem for those of us that drive into Hamilton. Thirdly, you want to know what's going to happen to Ancaster? Just go to Waterdown. I grew up in the Waterdown area, lovely little town. It's now just a suburb, crowded and too busy to live there. So my suggestion is that you go with a why not? Why not do it here? With all of those reasons about climate change, about traffic, about infrastructure not being available, and so on. You want to protect the community, but you have to give them the benefits and the alternatives. And the alternative is develop downtown Hamilton. My office...
Thank you, sir.
I'll make it quick.
Thank you very much, sir.
My office is in the Barton area, steel industry area. I can tell you if you go from Wentworth to the Red Hill on Barton Street, there are buildings sitting there that are 90% empty that could easily be fourplexes with retail underneath it. Rebuild that whole community. It used to be fantastic.
All right, so some support for urban development. Thank you. Did you want to go next? So we have this, our MPP on this side.
Hi there, my name is Sandy Shaw, and I just want to make sure, thank you. Thank you. You're just applauding because I'm not Doug Ford, right? That's why? Okay. But I wanted to make sure there's no misunderstanding that I think this is a dirty deal for us. And that's not why, I'm not here to say, like, as all of us are here, we're not here to approve this plan or feel like we're complicit in this. But I do want to say that the city, not only the city council and city staff, are doing the best they can with having their hands tied behind their back. And I do want to commend them for standing up to this bully. I also want to say, we need to acknowledge that Hamilton is the home of the Stop Sprawl movement. So all of you, give yourselves a round of applause for starting a movement across the province. And finally, what I am the environment critic, so like all of you have been consumed with this, but what I want to say is that there's two things going on here. There is a civic process, a bureaucratic process, a municipal process, but there's a political process as well, and the things that you're talking about are mixing the two of them. So because you're here tonight, doesn't say that you're buying into this plan, it says that you care and that you want your voices heard. And believe me, this is a premier that doesn't want to hear from you. So if you choose to put your ideas in or not, I can assure you that I will, as your MPP, raise my voice at every opportunity. Our new leader, Mark Stiles, in my opinion, is killing it. And so, yeah, absolutely. And so, someone said, write to your MPPs, write to me, come bang on my door in my office. You know what, it's when I step into the legislature, I will take all of your anger, all of your concerns, all of your disappointment, right to the Premier. So thank you so much for doing this, guys.
Thank you, MPP. So is there still one last question over here, and then we're done?
My name is Alexandra, and I live in Hamilton Mountain. I immigrated here in the beautiful country used to be, but Ford destroyed it, and the other part of our leader. I have a question. Why is Ford still on the payroll? And why is he after our Greenbelt? He needs to leave that alone.
Okay, so thank you very much. I think that that's a question that might be beyond the audience here and the people here, but we really do appreciate everyone's questions, and I can tell you the passion in this room is phenomenal. And I am sure the city staff here feel it, and we really appreciate what everybody has to say. They, as has been pointed out, they have a hard job here, and yourselves have a hard job too. We're hoping to get some feedback from you on this process, recognizing that it's challenging. So there's still some opportunity to provide commentary on the panels out and to talk to city staff out there for about another 10 minutes or so. And we really appreciate your time that you've given us tonight. So thank you very much.